Hi everyone, it's me, your teacher Oля here. You're welcome to my channel. In this video we are going to discuss the verbs of motion. These kind of verbs seem to be quite a challenge for at least English speakers who are learning Ukrainian. And I totally get why, because for the sake of experiment, when I was preparing this video, I came up to my dad asking him whether he can tell me the difference between їхати and їздити. And you know what? From the top of his head, he couldn't tell me the difference. It took him a while to figure out when to use which one. So basically, we Ukrainians are using those intuitively without thinking about it. And you Ukrainian learners must understand and learn how to use them. So before I begin, I want to thank John who has given me this video idea, and I want to encourage you viewers who has any requests or ideas to let me know about them, because it's much better for me to film the videos knowing that they are going to be useful for you and that I am uploading things that are actually interesting for you and useful for you, rather than choosing a topic off the top of my head out of the blue and things like that. Also, I would like to take a second to thank the people who support my channel on Patreon. It really means a lot. I know that this pandemic has been hard for all of us, so your help is very much appreciated. And now to the video, because it's going to be a long one. So, the verbs of motion are the verbs that describe an action of moving, an action of motion. So in Ukrainian, for going somewhere on foot or just walking, because that's what walking is, going somewhere on foot, we have verbs like йти and ходити. Йти and ходити. So what's the difference between йти and ходити? When do we use йти? When do we use ходити? And in order for you to understand this, I must explain you this very new concept that I never mentioned in my videos. This concept is unidirectional and multi-directional verbs. So you can kind of already get the clue from the names of those verbs or about what do they do. So a unidirectional verb is the verb that we use to describe an action that happens once, or that has to do only with one direction, or when we talk about setting out somewhere. For instance, I'll go to the theater tomorrow at 5. That's when we use an unidirectional verb. So unidirectional, one direction. Basically, that's your clue. When you talk about one direction, about going somewhere once or setting out somewhere, you use a unidirectional verb. And multidirectional, again, let's think of the name, multidirectional, many directions, is the verb that we use for basically when we talk about moving into many directions. For instance, moving around the town, or going somewhere back and forth to work and back, to the library and back. Basically the action of movements that happens regularly, or once but in different directions, in many directions. So that's when we use a multidirectional verb. So for going on foot, the verb йти or йти, it's the same. Йти or йти is the same, doesn't matter which one you prefer to use, is a unidirectional verb. Basically, when we say йти, we mean that we go on foot somewhere. We go there now at the moment when we have only one direction that we are going. Or when we are going somewhere on foot tomorrow or after tomorrow, at some point in time we are setting out to go somewhere. Again, the key word, one direction. There is no regularity to that action. You don't talk about going somewhere regularly. You just talk about one time, going somewhere one time. For instance, where are you? I'm going to work now. Де ти? Where are you? I'm going to work now. Я зараз йду на роботу. Basically, your one direction is work. You are doing that now, right now, at the moment. You aren't talking about going to work every day. You are talking about going to work right now as you are speaking on the phone. Tomorrow he goes to the theater. Завтра він йде до театру. Basically, tomorrow, at some point of tomorrow, he is setting out to the theater. The theater will be his single direction. That's the only emotion that we are talking about. This one time that he will go to the theater. Tomorrow we don't go to work. We have a day off. Завтра ми не йдемо на роботу. У нас вихідний. So basically, usually we go to work. For that we have multidirectional verb. But tomorrow is an exception. Tomorrow is the day off. We don't go to work tomorrow. We are talking about going somewhere or not going somewhere only this one time, tomorrow, that we have a day off. That's why we use a unidirectional verb йти. Now, as you might have guessed already, the verb ходити is multidirectional. We use it to describe an action of motion, of going somewhere, on foot, that happens regularly, often, rarely, seldom, usually, every day, every night, every Monday, every month, and things like that. Basically, the action that is repeating regularly. We also use it when we talk about return trips. Basically, we go in somewhere and then we go back. Basically, we have two directions, there and back. So it also must fall into the category of multi-directions, multiple directions. Also, we use ходити when we talk about walking around, wandering around aimlessly, wandering around the town, for instance, because yes, that's only one time that you are going, but you are going in multiple directions, so that's how it works. For instance, usually I go to work this way. That's an action that happens regularly. Usually I go to work this way. Зазвичай я ходжу на роботу цією дорогою. Ходити, ходжу is conjugated, but we use ходити here because basically the action is repeating from time to time. We are going to work regularly. Or for instance, він ніколи не ходить до цього спортзалу. He never goes to this gym. Or she doesn't go to library, she buys books from a bookstore. Вона не ходить до бібліотеки. Вона не ходить до бібліотеки. Вона купує книжки у книгарні. So she doesn't usually go to the library. That's an action that regularly doesn't happen. Or they were walking around Kyiv yesterday. Вони ходили Києвом вчора. Basically, they were going around the town, running in circles, there and back, visiting different places. That's why we use the verb ходити. That was with going by foot. Now, what do we say when we use some means of transportation? To go somewhere by car, by train, by bus, by a bicycle, by plane. Here we also have unidirectional verb їхати and multidirectional їздити. So basically we use їхати when we say to go somewhere by some means of transportation one time in one direction. Now the name of the means of transportation, if you want to mention, must go in the instrumental case. The video on the instrumental case I already have on this channel. I will leave the link somewhere here. So we would say їхати машиною, to go by car, їхати автобусом, to go by bus, їхати потягом, to go by train, and so on. Let's say he has a car, but today he goes to work by bus. Maybe the car was broken or something. So він має машину, he has a car, but today, але сьогодні, he goes to work by bus. Він їде на роботу автобусом. We use the unidirectional word їде because that's the only one day when he decides to go, because his car has broken. Usually he goes by car. Or when we say діти їдуть до музею автобусом, the children go to the museum by bus. That's when we talk about this one single trip that's happening, and that's why we use unidirectional verb їхати. Or tomorrow we are going to Poland. Завтра ми їдемо до Польщі. That's a trip that we are making. That's the only thing we are talking about. We don't mention whether we are going to be back, we won't go back, are we going to make it regularly. We don't know about that. All we want to say that tomorrow is this one trip into one direction. Our direction is Poland, and that's why we use the verb їхати. However, when we use plane, we don't say їхати літаком, we say летіти літаком. Basically, to fly by a plane. Летіти літаком. Now, їздити means to go using some means of transportation, to go by vehicle, regularly, repeatedly, or in multiple directions, or driving somewhere around. For instance, yesterday we went to Kyiv. Вчора ми їздили до Києва. But we are back now. So we were to Kyiv and now we are back. Ми їздили вчора до Києва. Ми їздимо на роботу автобусом. We go to work by bus. An action that happens regularly. Every day we are going, except of weekends, we are going to work by bus. He goes to the river every day. Він їздить до річки щодня. Basically, he drives to the river every day. And you don't always need to specify the means of transportations that you are using. It's enough sometimes to say, I went to Kyiv, я їздила до Києва вчора, yesterday, and that's enough. If somebody is interested what means of transportations you used, if that's relevant, you would specify that. Or they will ask you, did you use bus, did you use a train, and things like that. And when it comes to plane, the multidirectional verb for it is літати versus the unidirectional летіти. Unidirectional, one time летіти, many times літати, usually, regularly, літати. For instance, I fly to Italy every year. Я літаю до Італії щоліта. Now let's take another very popular verb of motion, to run. In Ukrainian, we also have multidirectional and unidirectional versions for the action of running. And the unidirectional verb is бігти. Бігти. Бігти means to run in either one direction, one time, or set up to run in the future. For instance, she is running now. Вона біжить зараз. They are running a marathon tomorrow. Завтра вони біжать марафон. Завтра вони біжать марафон. There would be one big run, big marathon tomorrow, and they are setting out for that. So that's the unidirectional Ukrainian verb that means to run, бігти. And its multidirectional brother is бігати. Бігати. To run regularly, to run in multiple directions, to run around, to run repeatedly, to run there and back. For instance, we don't really differentiate between jogging and running. We say somebody is running in the morning when we mean to say that they jog. So we can say he runs every morning before work. Він бігає щоранку перед роботою. Він бігає щоранку перед роботою. Or for instance, to say I always run in the gym. Like whenever I'm in the gym, I'm running. So я завжди бігаю в спортзалі. Я завжди бігаю в спортзалі. Okay, now let us talk perfective and imperfective aspects. I'm not going to explain you this concept. I assume that if you are watching this part of the video now, that you are already familiar with the concept of perfective and imperfective Ukrainian verbs. But if you don't know about that, then please watch this video and then come back to this one. So all the verbs that we were talking before were imperfective because they basically describe the action that either hasn't been completed yet, is in process of completion, or that is performed regularly, on a regular basis, repeatedly, and that's a definition of imperfective. However, they also have the perfective equivalents, the perfective brothers, that describe the action that has been completed. Let's see. So to go by foot, йти, ходити, the ones that we learned about. For йти, perfective would be піти. Піти means to complete the action. And for ходити, походити, perfective. Походити, imperfective, ходити. For running, бігти and бігати, they are imperfective. So for бігти, perfective would be побігти. And for бігати, perfective would be побігати. Побігти, побігати, perfective. Бігти, бігати, imperfective. For flying by plane, летіти, літати are imperfective. So, for летіти, perfective would be полетіти, летіти, полетіти. And for літати, perfective would be політати. So, летіти, літати, imperfective, полетіти, політати, perfective. For driving or going by vehicle, їхати, їздити are imperfective. So for їхати, perfective would be поїхати. And for їздити, perfective would be поїздити. So when we say вона бігає, we use multidirectional imperfective. Вона бігає means that she runs on a regular basis. But when we say вона біжить, we use imperfective unidirectional. We say that she is running either at the moment of when we speak in one direction, one time. Now let's see perfective. When we say вона побігла, it's perfective and unidirectional. That's it. She has run away. She is not here anymore. The action has been complete. She has run in a certain direction. But when we say вона побігала, when we use multidirectional perfective, it means that she has been running for a while. Вона побігала. She has done running. She doesn't run anymore. The action has been complete. Now maybe she is doing something else. She has been running for a while. Вона побігала. The completed action. Again, now let's take їздити and їхати. So when we say вони їздять на роботу автобусом, we use the verb їздити. It is multidirectional imperfective. And what we mean to say is that they are going to work on a regular basis by bus. In complete action, they continue doing that. So we use multidirectional imperfective. When we say, however, вони їдуть до Києва зараз, they go to Kyiv now, we use the imperfective unidirectional because we mean to say that now they are heading to Kyiv. One direction to Kyiv, and they are doing this now. So we are using unidirectional and imperfective because they are still doing that. The action of going still hasn't been completed. When we say вони поїхали додому, we use unidirectional perfective. We mean to say that they have gone home. They've gone. The action has been complete. They aren't here anymore. They've gone home to the direction of their home this one time. That's what we mean to say. But when we say вони поїздили по місту вчора, we use поїздили, that is perfective multidirectional. Then we say that they were going around the town yesterday, and that is multidirectional because going around is multidirectional, and perfective because it was yesterday and the action has been complete. And now the fun stuff, conjugation. Conjugation is a bit complicated because I have only covered for you conjugation of Ukrainian verbs in the present. In this video, I'm going to give you present, past, and perfect. Past and perfect we haven't learned yet, so I'm just giving you again. Its video is not about explaining you how to conjugate. It's to just give you the conjugations strictly of the verbs that we are talking about, the verbs of motion, and that's it. And about conjugating in the future and the past, we are going to talk in my next videos. Again, if you have seen my video on verbs and conjugation, you know that in Ukrainian, in present tense, exist only imperfective verbs, and that makes sense because the action in present tense is still going on, it's still not complete, so that makes sense. And for the future and the past, both aspects exist, and perfective and imperfective. So let's begin with the present. To go buy food, to walk, йти and ходити. So, йти. Я йду. Ти йдеш. Він, вона, воно йде. Ми йдемо. Ви йдете. Вони йдуть. Ходити. Я ходжу. Ти ходиш. Він, вона, воно ходить. Ми ходимо. Ви ходите. Вони ходять. To run – бігти and бігати. Бігти. Я біжу. Ти біжиш. Він, вона, воно біжить. Ми біжимо. Ви біжите. Вони біжать. Бігати. Я бігаю. Ти бігаєш. Він, вона, воно бігає. Ми бігаємо. Ви бігаєте. Вони бігають. To go by vehicle. Їхати and їздити. Їхати. Я їду. Ти їдеш. Він, вона, воно їде. Ми їдемо. Ви їдете. Вони їдуть. Їздити. Я їжджу. Ти їздиш. Він, вона, воно їздить. Ми їздимо. Ви їздите. Вони їздять. To fly by plane. Летіти and літати. Я лечу. Ти летиш. Він, вона, воно летить. Ми летимо. Ви летите. Вони летять. Літати. Я літаю. Ти літаєш. Він, вона, воно літає. Ми літаємо. Ви літаєте. Вони літають. Now past, it will be more complicated because to the imperfective we must add our perfective brothers. So not more complicated, we will just have more verbs to conjugate. So to go by foot, to walk, йти, ходити, піти and походити. So йти, я, depending on the gender, masculine, йшов, feminine, йшла, neuter, йшло. Ти is the same. Він йшов. Вона йшла. Воно йшло. Ми, ви, вони йшли. Ходити. Я, depending on gender. Masculine – ходив. Feminine – ходила. Neuter – ходило. Ти also ходив, ходила, ходило, depending on gender. Він ходив, вона ходила, воно ходило. Ми, ви, вони ходили. Піти. Я, depending on gender. Masculine – пішов, feminine – пішла, neuter – пішло. Ти пішов, пішла, пішло, also depending on gender. Він пішов, вона пішла, воно пішло, ми, ви, вони пішли. Походити is exactly the same that ходити, just add prefix по. So, я, depending on gender, походив, походила, походило. Ти походив, походила, походила, also depending on gender. Він походив, вона походила, воно походило. Ми, ви, вони походили. To run – бігти, бігати, побігти and побігати. Бігти. Я, depending on gender. Masculine – біг, feminine – бігла, neuter – бігло. Ти – same, біг, бігла, бігло, depending on gender. Він біг, вона бігла, воно бігло. Ми, ви, вони бігли. Бігати. Я, depending on gender. Masculine – бігав, feminine – бігала, neuter – бігало. Ти – same, бігав, бігала, бігало. Він бігав, вона бігала, воно бігало. Ми, ви, вони бігали. Побігти also same like for бігти, but just add the prefix по. Я, depending on gender. Побіг, побігла, побігло. Ти побіг, побігла, побігло, also depending on gender. Він побіг, вона побігла, воно побігло. Ми, ви, вони побігли. And побігати also same like for бігати, just add по. The prefix in front of бігати. So, я побігав, побігала, побігало, depending on gender. Ти побігав, побігала, побігало, depending on gender also. Він побігав, вона побігала, воно побігало. Ми, ви, вони побігали. To fly – летіти, літати, полетіти, політати. Летіти. Я летів, masculine, летіла, feminine, летіло, neuter. Ти летів, летіла, летіло, also depending on gender. Він летів, вона летіла, воно летіло, ми, ви, вони летіли. Літати. Я літав, masculine, літала, feminine, літало, neuter. Ти літав, літала, літало, depending on gender. Він літав, вона літала, воно літало, ми, ви, вони літали. Полетіти. For полетіти, the conjugation will be exactly the same that for летіти, just with the prefix по in front. Я полетів, masculine, полетіла, feminine, полетіло, neuter. Ти полетів, полетіла, полетіло, depending on gender. Він полетів, вона полетіла, воно полетіло, ми, ви, вони полетіли. For політати, conjugation will be the same that for літати, just with the prefix по in front of the word. Я політав, masculine, політала, feminine, політало, neuter. Ти політав, політала, політало, Depending on gender, він політав, вона політала, воно політало, ми, ви, вони політали. And to go by vehicle. Here we have їхати, їздити, поїхати, поїздити. Їхати. Я, depending on gender, masculine, їхав, feminine, їхала, neuter, їхало. Ти, also depending on gender, їхав, їхала, їхало. Він їхав, вона їхала, воно їхало, ми, ви, вони їхали. Їздити. Я, depending on gender, masculine, їздив, feminine, їздила, neuter, їздило. Ти, also depending on gender, їздив, їздила, їздило. Він їздив, вона їздила, воно їздило, ми, ви, вони їздили. Поїхати. The conjugation is the same that for їхати, just with the prefix по in front of the word. Let's see. Я поїхала, поїхав, поїхало. Ти поїхала, поїхав, поїхало. Він поїхав, вона поїхала, воно поїхало. Ми, ви, вони поїхали. And for поїздити, the situation is exactly similar that for їздити, but just you need to add prefix по in front of the word and you are ready to go, and I think I will not spend more time of this video doing the same thing. And we are slowly coming to the future, hopefully bright. For the future, we conjugate perfective and imperfective differently. Let's start with imperfective. For imperfective future verbs, we have two ways of conjugating. The first way is adding the correct form of the verb бути, to be, plus the infinitive of the verb. The correct form of the verb будеш would be the following. Я буду, ти будеш, він, вона, воно буде, ми будемо, ви будете, вони будуть. Now all you have to do is to just add the infinitive. Let's take our verb йти, to go by foot. Я буду йти, ти будеш йти, він, вона, воно буде йти, ми будемо йти, ви будете йти, вони будуть йти. That's it. You have the future verb йти conjugated. Now there is another way. Instead of adding the correct form of the verb будеш, you can add endings. Я йтиму, ти йтимеш, він, вона, воно йтиме, ми йтимемо, ви йтимете, вони йтимуть. Let's conjugate the verb ходити. Also, it's imperfective, so there will be two ways. You can add the correct form of будеш. Again, I will not conjugate with будеш because it's exactly the same. The forms will be the same. You will just add the different infinitive. Будеш їхати, буду їхати, будемо їхати, будете їхати. Just write yourself down the correct forms of the verbs, of the verb бути, and add the infinitive. I won't do that again. I will conjugate for you using the second way. Я ходитиму, ти ходитимеш, він, вона, воно ходитиме, ми ходитимемо, ви ходитимете, вони ходитимуть. To run, we have бігти, бігати, побігти and побігати. Imperfective here are only бігти and бігати. Let's conjugate them. Я бігтиму, ти бігтимеш, він, вона, воно бігтиме, ми бігтимемо, ви бігтимете, вони бігтимуть. Бігати. Я бігатиму, ти бігатимеш, він, вона, воно бігатиме. Ми бігатимемо, ви бігатимете, вони бігатимуть. And to go by vehicle – їхати, їздити. Imperfective – поїхати, поїздити. Perfective – let's begin with imperfective. Я їхатиму, ти їхатимеш, він, вона, воно їхатиме, ми їхатимемо, ви їхатимете, вони їхатимуть. Їздити. Я їздитиму, ти їздитимеш, він, вона, воно їздитиме, ми їздитимемо, ви їздитимете, вони їздитимуть. Now perfective forms піти і походити. Let's conjugate those. Піти. Я піду, ти підеш, він, вона, воно піде, ми підемо, ви підете, вони підуть. Походити. Я походжу, ти походиш, він, вона, воно походить, ми походимо, ви походите, вони походять. Let's conjugate побігти. Побігти. Я побіжу, ти побіжиш, він, вона, воно побіжить. Ми побіжимо, ви побіжите, вони побіжать. Побігати. Я побігаю, ти побігаєш, він, вона, воно побігає. Ми побігаємо, ви побігаєте, вони побігають. Поїхати. Я поїду, ти поїдеш, він, вона, воно поїде. Ми поїдемо, ви поїдете, вони поїдуть. Поїздити. Я поїжджу, ти поїздиш, він, вона, воно поїздить. Ми поїздимо, ви поїздите, вони поїздять. So what you must learn from this video. Ukrainian verbs of motions have two types, unidirectional and multidirectional. Unidirectional we use when we talk about moving into one direction, one time, at this moment, when we are setting out for motion. Multi-directional we use when we talk about moving into many directions, moving around, moving back and forth, going there and back, or going somewhere many times regularly. Both multidirectional and unidirectional have also perfective and imperfective aspect to them, which basically makes every verb have 4 different versions. The third thing we learned in this video is how to conjugate the verbs that I have given you. Hope this video was useful for you. Again, any questions down below. Thank you for watching. Waiting for your ideas, waiting for your requests and suggestions. See you in my next videos, hopefully soon. Bye!